running without the need of public subsidies, and this is very important. So the project should provide such a business models that can run without the need for public subsidies. And impact, in this case, it's not always quantitatable. So in this case, you can assess impact as data evidence made available to market actors, proof of the replication of this initiative by other market actors, strong and trustworthy partnerships with local actors like SMEs, ESCOs, financial institutions, energy agencies, NGOs, and quality of the proposed services recognized by market actor. One example of project that was financed by Horizon 2020 is Foreign EU, if I'm correctly pronouncing this acronym. Here you can find a link to the project itself, so you can learn more information, and the project also has its official website, so you can find information also there. This is innovation type of action, and the topic that was applied was called supporting, accelerating and cost-effective deep renovation of buildings through public-private partnership. So they applied for this particular topic, and they get financed by 4.6 million euro, but they also had some cost share part, and EU contribution in this case was only 4 million euros. Coordinator was from Italy. This is a research organization, and the objective of their project is to define robust, cost-effective, tailorable deep renovation technology packages that are supported by usable methodologies, feeding into reliable business models. The project minimizes failures in design and implementation, manage different stages of the deep renovation process from the audit up to the end of life, and provide information on energy, comfort, users' impact, and investment performance. The project started in October 2016 and will finish in September 2020. The project consortium has 12 partners, and mainly their partners are from private and public bodies. Another thematic areas is energy efficient industry and services. And one topic is capacity building programs to support implementation of energy audits. This is coordination and support type of action, and budget is between 1 and 2 million, and total indicative budget is 10. Again, there will be quite a lot of project financed in this topic, so at least 5. So proposals should focus on one or more of the following issues. It can be staff trainings and capacity building programs, facilitating SMEs to undergo energy audits and to implement the recommended energy saving measures, capacity buildings to support the take-up of audits recommendation and undertake the actions necessary to reduce energy consumption in the companies required to undergo the energy audits. And impact can be estimated in the primary energy savings triggered by the project in gigawatt hours per year, investment in sustainable energy triggered by the project in millions of euros, market stakeholders with increased skills, capability, competences to be measured in number of people with increased capacity. So again, quantitative indicators. Number of people, enterprises with enhanced energy culture, documenting why and how changes are an effect of a particular measures taken as a consequence of energy audits. Another example from another thematic field, which is energy efficiency and investments. So this is again coordination and support of type of action. As you can see in energy efficiency call, there are plenty of topics of coordination and support type of actions. And here the budget is between 1 and 1.5 million euros, and total indicative budget is 6. The scope is that proposal should address the development of replication and implementation of innovative financing schemes for energy efficiency investment. Proposal should address one or more of the following points: establishment of new innovative operational financing schemes, replication of previously successful solutions, like those developed and implemented under various projects, again maybe financed by Horizon 2020, creation of EU or regional national energy efficiency investments roundtables or platforms to organize dialogue with and between the relevant stakeholders. In this case, the impact can be estimated in primary energy savings, again triggered by the project in gigawatt hours per year, investments in sustainable energy triggered by the project in millions of euros, delivery of innovative financing schemes that are operational and ready to finance, And EU or regional energy efficient investment roundtables or platforms in place that will provide a comprehensive range of support services to facilitate access to energy efficiency finance. Another topic from the same thematic field is mainstreaming energy efficiency finance. Again, coordination and support type of actions, and EU contribution could be between 1 and 1.5 million of euros, with total indicative budget of 6. In this case, the proposal should address at least one of the following issues. It could be development of demonstration and promotion of frameworks for the standardization and benchmarking of sustainable energy investments. It can be capacity building for banks and investors at the national and local level. It can be gathering, processing and disclosing large-scale data on actual financing performance of energy efficient investments, or for the integration of non-energy benefits in project valuation, or targeting institutional investments in order to increase the share of the fund's investment in energy efficiency, or exploring the impact of revised risk rating and requirements for energy efficiency on financial regulations. So impact in this case can be as a number of financial institutions and other stakeholders reached, as well as the potential volume of investment concerned, development of a secondary market for energy efficient assets in millions of euros of investments within the 5 years after the end of the project. One example of the project that was financed in this thematic area is called Investor Confidence Project. And you can find information about this project on its official website. This was coordination and support type of action, and the budget in this case was 1.5 million euros, fully covered by the Horizon 2020. There was no cost share. Coordinator was from UK. It was a private organization. And the objective of this particular project was to unlock access to financing for the building renovation market by standardizing how energy efficiency projects are developed and measured. And the project worked with key stakeholders to develop open source protocols that can be applicable to real projects. So the project started in May this year and will finish in April 2019, so it's just only 2 years. And it involves 6 partners, mainly from private organizations. Another thematic areas of energy efficiency call is support for policy-driven innovation. So in this case, again, coordination and support type of action, and it support public authorities to implement the energy union. In this case, the scope can be different, so there can be different kind of projects. First is support to local and regional public authorities by delivering high quality and consistency of energy efficiency measures implemented through enhanced coordination of different administrative levels. Support public authorities in the development of transition roadmaps that clearly outline the path to European long-term 2050 targets, or developing innovative ways to enable public engagement in the energy transitions. I would like to say that Georgian organizations are really very welcome to participate in this type of calls, because one of the preconditions is that the municipalities or the local authorities are part of any international initiatives like Covenant of Mayors. And in Georgia we have, if I'm not mistaken, 16 cities that are, or even 18, 18 cities that joined this initiative. So any organizations that have any relation to the municipalities that are part of Covenant of Mayor can easily participate in this type of call. And another type of call is delivery of the Energy Efficiency Directive, assisting member states to fulfill the obligations under the Energy Efficiency Directive and help them with its efficient implementation. So since Georgia joined the energy community this year officially, as our parliament ratified this agreement this year, implementation of Energy Efficient Directive and moreover being part of European consortium and having the possibility to work with the European organization and to learn experience from them is really very relevant for Georgian case. In this case, the contribution can be between 1 and 1.5 million, and total indicative budget is 8. One example of the project with a similar thematic area that was financed by Horizon 2020 is Panel 2050. The project official website is here. And the total budget that they received was 1.8 million euros. The coordinator is from Estonia. This is Tartu Regional Energy Agency. And by the way, we will have representative of this agency at our training. They will tell training participants more in detail about their activities, what they're going to do in this project, and they also will share their experience, how they manage to be successful and to get finance for their project. And we will also have representative from another Estonian organization that participates in this project as a partner. So we will have 2 international organizations. So again, for those who are interested in this training, there will be a good possibility to speak with potential partners and to network. So the project started in March and will finish in March 2016 and will finish in February 2019, and it involves 12 partners from 11 countries. So this was a brief overview of some of the calls, because it's really impossible to look through all of them, but you can easily access all these calls on participant portal and on the work program, and to find all the necessary information there. If you have any specific question, I will show you my contact detail at the end of the presentation. You can call me, you can write me emails, and we can go through all the specific questions that you may have during this process. So how to participate in Horizon 2020? And the first presentation in today's event was basically devoted to this issue, and Adam basically went through all the major steps that you need to go through. I would like to point out the registration and PIC number. Basically, you will need this PIC number closer to the end of the process, when you need to already submit your proposal, or when you participate in a consortium that is submitting proposal, because all partners need to submit their PIC number. But I really advise you to make, if you're thinking about participation in Horizon 2020, I really advise you to register and get this PIC number in advance, because it takes time, and even in the phase of communication with potential partners, sometimes partners ask you to provide them with your PIC number. So it's better to have it, in place. And you can check whether you're already registered. Maybe you work in a university that is already registered and has this PIC number. Or if it's not, you can register here. It's have quite a simple instruction. So you will get the EU login and then 9-digit PIC number. This basically is obligatory. Without it, you cannot participate. But the other steps are kind of voluntary. It's up to you to decide. So you can register also at Cordis. Here is the link. And you can get access to partner search. So the Cordis has partner search facility. This is online tool, and I will explain you a bit later about it. And also Cordis includes information about all past projects that were financed by Horizon 2020 of previous framework programs. So you can see what kind of projects were financed, because as you can see, the thematic areas are very similar. So if you are thinking about, for example, energy efficiency in buildings, you can see what kind of projects were financed in this particular direction, and who were the organizations that received the funding, and you can try to contact them. This is one of the good ways to start finding potential partners. Of course, if you don't have already established good international network, in this case, everything is much simpler. And you can also register in Energy 2020 portal. This is a portal of network of energy NCPs. Unfortunately, now they're in the process of upgrading their website, so now there is not much information on the partnership search facilities, but I think they will update it in future. And also, once your proposal is successful, so on the last stage, and you are invited to the grant preparation for the legal representative, you need to appoint a legal representative of your organization. And usually this is a person from administrative staff who will be responsible for updating of your information about your organization and some other stuff. But it's more on the later stages of grant application. So you can participate in Horizon 2020 in 2 ways. You can be a coordinator and coordinate the whole process. In this case, first you need to find the call, then you need to find partners to build a good consortium. It's very important to build a strong consortium, because basically evaluators look very closely at who is the members of consortium, and then you're responsible for writing and submission of a proposal. And basically the roles of coordinators were already mentioned in the presentation during the Adam's presentation, so you can get idea that being coordinator is not an easy task at all. Another way of participation is being a partner. In this case, again, you need to find a call, the one that close to your research interests, the one that you think that you can contribute with your expertise and knowledge. Then you need to find the partners and enter a consortium. It's my personal advice, of course it's up to you to decide which way to choose, but for those organizations that have not much experience in Horizon 2020 or in any European framework programs, I would suggest to start with this way, because this is also not an easy. Because, you know, Horizon 2020 is the 8th framework program. Before that there was 7. Each framework program was with duration of several years. So for such a long period, organizations from European countries cooperate with each other, work with each other, they know each other, they trust each other, and they already built a strong network of contacts. It's a kind of a bit closed community, and it's not an easy task to enter this community and to be part of a really successful consortium, because your chances for success if you're a partner of a consortium directly related to the success rate of the consortium itself and on the coordinator as well. So it's also not an easy task, but in this case you will get very valuable experience. You will understand, because framework programs are very different from the national donor projects that we used to have in our countries. There are different participation rules, there are different reporting, there are different financial documents required, etc. So you will gain this very valuable experience. You will gain contacts that you will need in future. So it's a good possibility for you to build your own network. And you can try to be either task leader or work package leader, because in all projects the whole project is divided into work packages. So you can try to start with work package leadership, and then in future, if you already participated in several successful projects, then you can think about coordinating. So I think that in this stage, I would advise organizations from Georgia, those that have not much experience in Horizon 2020, to try to become a member of a consortium, in such a consortium, in the topics that they think that they are eligible for. So topics that you can see that you can contribute. So with your knowledge, experience, etc. So as for partner search, how to find the partners? And as I already mentioned, this is really a challenge for a newcomer country and organizations from newcomer countries. So first of all, you need to talk to your partners and their friends. So maybe you have already some international partners and you have participated in some joint projects, maybe not funded by Horizon 2020, but funded by other donors, but maybe you already have some international partners. You need to talk to them and suggest them potential cooperation in Horizon 2020. You can use your academic and personal contacts as well. So you need to start with the contacts that you already have. Then you can talk to your colleagues and their friends. You can use partner search tools. One is available at Codis, for example. And there are also thematic search tools like in Energy 2020, and I know that there is similar tool for environment, thematic topic, etc. You can also find partners who partner offers distributed by National Contact Point. So I, as a National Contact Point, sometimes distribute these partner offers because I am a member of international network of NCPs, and sometimes I get some information from international organizations that is looking for potential additional partners, and they send me their profiles, and then I distribute this profile within my network. So I usually using again my mailing list to distribute these potential partner offers, and then companies may cooperate and they find the common interest of cooperation. You can also use thematic groups and social media. Basically, social media was not considered as a serious source for partner search recently, but I found out that there is a very active group in LinkedIn social network. If someone is registered there, you can check. There is official LinkedIn group called Horizon 2020, and it includes quite a lot of participants, and they have very interesting discussion about different calls, and sometimes they are trying to use this tool to find potential partners. So you can also check this tool as well if you're comfortable with social media. Another important topic that I want to mention is participation in brokerage event. The main goal of the brokerage event is a special event designed for finding potential partners, and I will speak about it a bit later. And also you can participate in international workshops and conferences, again in your thematic areas, and this is a good way to find potential partners, because in thematic workshops and conferences all people working in particular field, they are gathered together, and it's a good way for communicating, for networking, and to finding potential partners. And one important thing that I want to mention, you need to be visible. So you need to contact as many international and potential partners as possible, because it's very difficult to get to this community, but once you are there, once you proved that you can be a reliable partner, once you prove that you have experience and expertise in a particular field, then your life became easier, at least in Horizon 2020. So for the next calls, you already will have a network of contacts, so for you it will be much easier. But it's very difficult to get for the first time there. And as for partner search tools, as I was already, there is one is CORDIS. This is Community Research and Development Information Service. So in this CORDIS website, you can find, like here, so you can register, or you can look for already registered profiles. There are two types of profiles. One is proposing a project, which is here. You can see that it's more than 1,000 of proposing a project. In this case, it means that the consortia is already maybe not established, but already there are several partners with definite idea, and they are looking for additional partners. So this is basically the ideal situation if you find some proposing project profile with a similar topic that you are interested in, and then you can try to contact them, and if you are successful enough, you may become a partner in their project. Another type of profiles is offering collaboration. As you can see, there are much more of that. In this case, basically, these are researchers or research organizations which offer their research expertise and research interests, and who are willing to participate in possible project. So you can register, for example, in both of these, or you can register at least at offering collaboration and list what are your key expertise, what can you do, what are you strong at, and what kind of calls are you looking for. And then you might be contacted for some interested organizations. International workshops and seminars are also very important. You can find event calendar at CEnergy 2020, which is available in this link. So it's lists all international conferences on different topics. All topics, of course, related to energy. You can find event calendar at H 2020 website, which is over here. It's have more broad coverage. It's not only on energy, but on other fields as well. I also disseminate some information about international conferences that are held either in Georgia or abroad. Sometimes they even allow some grants, travel grants, for those who may make a presentation on these events. There is also a list of events at CORDIS. It's also available here. And Rustaveli National Science Foundation used to have travel grants. I'm not sure whether they have it still. Do you have it still?
Grants for mobility.
Yes, so, and sometimes they also issue grants for brokerage events visits, yes. So you also can look at Rustaveli website and find some information about these travel grants, which is basically a very good opportunity to visit brokerage events and international conference and to have cover your costs. And of course, brokerage events, it's primary goal of brokerage events is to find partners. So brokerage event is such an event. So here I brought a picture from typical brokerage event. As you can see, there are plenty of tables, and at each table there are two participants from different organizations, and they have usually 20-25 minutes to talk and to discuss possible cooperation. So this is basically a set of bilateral meetings that are being held in one particular meeting room. So what are my advices for these brokerage events? Again, information about brokerage events you can find either on the websites that I listed in the previous slide, or once I have information about the brokerage event devoted to the energy topic, I distribute it through my mailing list. Here you can find the link to the recent brokerage event that was held in October in Brussels. It was a side event to the presentation of new work program. And you can visit the website and see what kind of organizations were there, and how many meetings were held, what are the topics that were covered, and other than general information. So what are my advices for those who are interested in this brokerage event? Your visit to brokerage event can be effective only in the case if you prepare in advance. Otherwise, you will just waste your time. Prepare in advance means that each brokerage event has its website. It's very comfortable and very user-friendly. So you need to register in advance. You need to register your profile of your organization, where you will list what are the key expertise, what type of organization you represent, how many staff members do you have, etc., what are your key research interests, etc. And then you need to submit also cooperation profiles. In this case, it's very important that your cooperation profiles are written in the right way. So they're stressing what are your key strengths, what are your key interests, and it's very good if you already looked through the work program and you picked several topics that you're particularly interested in, and you can indicate these topics here. So you're looking for potential partners who are also interested in the same cause. This will make your partner search easier. You can check new profiles regularly. There is a special filters on these websites when you can basically filter and look like once a week or once in 2 weeks what are the new profiles added to this website, because sometimes registered more than 100 participants. It's very difficult to go through 100 profiles in one day. But if you do it regularly, you can get better idea what kind of participants are there, and you can book meetings in advance with them. So the booking is usually opened in a couple of weeks before the event itself. So you can book meeting and you already start some communication with your potential partners. Because if you don't book meeting, it's very difficult to find, because everyone has already booked meetings, they know with whom they are going to meet. So you need for sure to book as many meetings as you think that is reasonable for you. And then of course you need to bring business cards, relevant publication, your organization profile, brochures, etc. Everything that is possible to help your partners to get more information about yourself. So I think that if you prepared, then the brokerage events is really very good opportunity for you to find potential partners. But if you have not enough time to visit this event, or you don't have enough financial resources, because all travel costs are covered by participants, of course. So participation in the brokerage event itself is free of charge, but you need to buy your tickets, you need to book accommodation, you need to cover other expenses. So in this case, at least what you can do is to visit the brokerage event websites and to look through the participants and to see what kind of organizations are going to be there. And very often, organizations, in the organizational profiles, they indicate the contact details. So okay, you cannot go there and to meet them in person, but at least you can write them email. There is no guarantee that they will answer, but they may. And then you can arrange a Skype conference, and then discuss potential topics. I have my personal experience that I was not able to participate in particular brokerage event, and I contacted a person that was going to be there, and we had very productive conference call, and we basically had quite a productive cooperation in future as well. So this is possible, and this is free of charge. The only thing that you need to invest is your time. So this was the main information that I wanted to share with you. If you have any specific question, or if you want to share with me your contact details so you are informed about any other similar events in future, and about if you want to receive invitation for the training as well, so please come to me after the session and we will discuss it. Thank you.
Okay, hello. Good afternoon, or rather good morning in Georgetown. My name is Jarosław Piekarski. So thank you very much for the invitation and to give me the possibility experience with on the SPIRE initiative, on the SPIRE program. Let me introduce first my institution and myself, why I'm speaking about that. So, first of all, National Contact Point in Poland has been established in 1990, so we are operating already over 18 years. And our institution has around 50 staff, of which around 30 are appointed as NCPs. And our primary task is to support participation of Polish teams, support participation of Polish organizations in programs we are charged in. But also we are involved in shaping international programs. It means we are collaborating with European Commission, helping them or providing Polish position to prepare for programs. As well, we are involved in shaping Polish R&D sector in the context of international collaboration. And me, I'm working as NCP for NMP for P7. I worked for this program for 7 years. Now, since 2014, I'm coordinating the activity for the NMBP, means nanotechnologies, materials, biotechnology and production area. The SPIRE initiative is a part of this program. Also, I'm involved in the activity of NMBP project, which is the project aiming at networking the NCPs for NMBP over Europe and beyond. So let's shift now to the SPIRE initiative. I understand that you had already the presentation on the work program, on the opportunities provided in the work program of current work program for 2018. So I will not talk about there. I will talk rather on the experience, on the rules of process industry, and in fact, why it has been established, what is the target, why it is in operation. First of all, SPIRE program has the budget of 900 million or over 900 million for 7 years, so it's in average over 100 million euros per year. And it has one target, in fact, to decrease the environmental footprint of process industry. So the KPIs defined are 30% less energy and 20% fewer raw materials until 2013, comparing with the state of the art of around 2010. And of course, the program should create a skill which in order to achieve this goal. And what is very important, the implementation. The implementation is based, based on the European Commission and stakeholders agreement. The stakeholders are represented by SPIRE association, and within the association are gathered representatives of 8 sectors. you have listed them at the screen. So, if you want to read more on that, you can visit the web page Spire 2030 EU, and then you can find much more information. The association has elaborated multi-annual roadmap, and this roadmap has been adopted by the Commission through a wide open consultation, and in fact it's a live document, means it's subjected to updates all time. But what is also very important, calls for the initiative are implemented according to normal Horizon 2020 rules, means that there is no special rules for this initiative, and also that the members of the Aspire association or organization involved in the association activity are not have not preferences. Each participant, in view of implementation of participation in calls, have the same rights. Okay. And this slide shows, in fact, where the initiative affects the process industry. Generally, we have a kind of input involving, okay, raw materials, but also all components necessary to run the production, run the processing, like energy, a kind of facilitators, water, and so on. After processing, we have as an output products or byproducts, sure, but also a lot of, say, waste, residues, and so on. And the goal of the initiative is, first of all, to optimize or provide new opportunities for the processes in order to decrease the residues or waste production. On the other hand, propose recycling procedure in order to decrease the part which is not used. So then, in fact, the goal is to apply as much as possible the circular economy paradigm to the process industry. Well, the initiative is implemented since 2014, means since the beginning of the Horizon 2020 program. So far, during these 4 years, 70 projects have been granted. So, here at the next 2 slides, you have all these projects listed. What is important, the Spire community provides very nice communication service, and then you can find description or information on all this project at the Spire 2030 EU web page. So if you are interested in how the projects are implemented, really each project you can check there. But now I would like to show you some statistics how it works in fact. This diagram shows the distribution. I'm sorry, the distribution of the EC funds among countries. These brown bars shows countries belonging to old European Union countries, old member states, and you can see that the biggest contribution has Germany, Spain, and next they are followed by Italy, France, United Kingdom, and so on. You can see here Norway, and at around 10th position, which is not a member of the EU, it's associated country, and as well Slovenia and Poland. And both Slovenia and Poland practically has the same contribution, and around 10% of that received by German organizations. But what I can raise you is the second diagram at this second quantity at this diagram means success rate. You can see here in person. Average success rate for all project counted in the as the rate of granted funds to grants applied is 16%. So 1 of 8 projects is funded. Oh, 1 of 8 proposals is funded. But we have different success rates for different countries. You can see that the countries with the biggest share have the success rate around the average. But Norway and Poland has around 30%, and Slovenia even over 40%. Means 1 of 3 proposals with Polish participation has been granted, and for Slovenia is even better. So the problem is whether or not in the relatively low participation of new member states. You can see it's on the second diagram I have just shown. Is not in the depending on the say low success rate. It depends rather on the not satisfactory number of applications. And you can see here that practically 90% of funds went to old European Union, about 5% to the new countries, and the rest, around 5%, to other countries, including candidate and associated countries. So, summarizing the information, you can see that around half of the EC contribution planned for Spire initiative has been spent so far. For these 70 projects, average EC contribution to one project was at the level of 6.5 million euros, and average contribution per partner is over 400,000 euros. Means that generally that the average consortium counted between 10 and 15 partners. Okay, moreover, because it's really industrial program, Spire's industrial program, you can see that practically over half of funds went to private companies. Here you can see this brown part of this diagram, and half of them were small and medium-sized enterprises. Here you have listed biggest beneficiaries of the program. The biggest one, and you can see that practically all of these 10 are industrial research institutes. Starting from VTT, it's the Finland Technological Institute, Fraunhofer, German Fraunhofer, Technalia, and even this marked by red ArcelorMittal company in fact, is research institute. Okay. I would like to show you some how Poland, because in fact I'm Polish, how Poland has how Poland has performed in the program. You can see that each year we have around 3 projects funded with Polish participation. Here, the first is the name of, is the acronym of the project. Next, acronyms of Polish partners. And what I can underline and what is very important for us is that most of this Polish participation are not single participation, but Polish organization went as a group to the project. Practically it is Recopa, Adir Epos, Zero Grind, Karma Volcano, and so half of them are with at least 2 Polish participation, and the rest is single. Moreover, if you look at the budget of Polish teams, this project Novum has close to 2 million euros for Polish participation, ICSPEC close to 1.5 million, and this in color, the other in color, have close to 1 million euros. That's why Polish participation achieved this level close to 8 million euros, or over 8 million euros. And you can see also in this frame, I have marked the areas where Polish, the project with Polish participation, that it's the topic focus. So we were active in process control, in management systems for energy and resource, industrial symbiosis, recovery technologies, valorization of bioresources, as well as in furnaces in the process industry. Now I would like to provide you a view on 2 projects with Polish participation. The first one I would like to show you is ICSPEC. It's a very nice project aiming at elaborating new methods of real-time or in-line monitoring of gas composition during processes. So under this project, such a device the project started in the beginning is from the call of 2013, started practically 2.5 years ago, and practically just now the project has elaborated, or Polish company Optic has elaborated a laser device for monitoring this gas composition. So really, it's very nice achievement of the project. The other one I would like to show you is also, and sorry, I switch back to the previous slide. Also, if you see at the composition, the consortium is composed of 8 partners, so it's smaller than average. And there are 2 Polish organizations, the company Optic and the Wrocław University of Technology. And if you see general composition of this consortium, you can see that there is 3 research institutions: University of Wrocław, University of Würzburg, and SIA, French organization, and 5 companies. The other project I would like to show you, the second one, is the Volcano project aiming at providing the methods, new novel methods of retrofitting of industrial furnaces. In this project, we have only one Polish partner. It's Institute for Energy, but generally this project has 12 partners from 2 countries, and Polish partner has been involved in elaborating the methods of refurbishing the furnaces, but in other countries demonstrators has been established. And in fact, this program combine 5, if you look at this design, maybe it's not the best quality. The project is aiming at combining 5 different procedures, 5 different methods to the retrofitting the furnace in order to achieve higher performance, in order to decrease the footprint environment of the process. Okay, let's turn back just now to Spire calls. As I said, it's a kind of opportunity for us to participate. Just now we have these 3 topics open, but look that these 3 topics have the budget at the level of 100 million euros. It's a big difference comparing to the previous calls, because for calls 2014-17, average budget of one topic was at the level 15 million euros. Now, practically, we have the budget of each topic twice. And that's why these topics are more open, and I expected more consortia will receive funding. So you can see we have 2 topics dealing with, in fact, process industry, and one containing one type of waste, plastic materials. And how you can participate, in fact. You have, first of all, because in fact Georgia is not a country that can initiate a new project. In fact, you have to look for consortia, you need to be involved by existing structures. So what we can suggest, be active and contact us. The first site is the participant portal of European Commission. All application process is done through participant portal, and also all information necessary to active participation in the program are provided there. All legal, financial, and organizational issues. But of course, you cannot find the support there. The place when you can find information how to operate is the site of Spire Association. Spire really useful information, including case studies, are provided there, and also you can contact members of Spire through this website. And the other way I can suggest is through the NCP network. So, as I said in the beginning, we are the part of NMP team project that networks NMP NCPs, as well as provide support to participants. So if you are interested in, I invite you to contact us. And thank you for your attention and welcome on the board.
Thank you very much for your very informative presentation. Yes, definitely, whether there are questions, they will.
Thank you. Good afternoon, and ladies and gentlemen, and thank you very much for today's meeting. And this meeting is very useful for the government, for the private sector and industries and all, because we have a chance to developing a more energy efficient and renewable energy project. It's very, very useful for the Georgian government. Today, and my colleagues and Natalia and then Radoslav introduce and more detailed information about and Horizon 2020, also in SPARE and 2030. And here was detailed information and about and potential projects. Today, and my presentation will be very short because I will introduce only 3 calls and SPARE 3 calls and these projects, and will continue in next year. And our deadline is next year in February. Before I start and presentation, I would like to introduce our priority. And as you know, and Georgian side of the association agreement, it was in 2014, and also here is a mistake, and also we are full member of the Energy Community Organization, and it means to harmonize of EU directives, especially in energy efficiency and renewable energy, also and greenhouse gas emissions projects, and because, and maybe you know, we have some obligation from the Paris Agreement and from the Association Agreement, Energy Community Organizations and others. Also, it's very important, and Georgian government prepared and energy policy, and here is very important and point in energy efficiency and renewable energy, because our priorities in maximum utilization of the local resources, because energy efficiency and the utilization of the local resources, including solar and wind and geothermal and biomass and other, it's our security. It's a very priority, we think, and our policy and will continue, and our project will be in the energy efficiency and renewable energy field. Also, we are working hardly about energy strategy, and in my opinion, and next year, and we'll finish this document. Also, and we have some good decision and for the renewable energies, and for renewable energies, it's very important for the households and for the private sector. Now I would like to introduce about our ongoing projects, and first is in Cabinet Mayor projects. Already we have 80 cities in these signatory cities, and 8 cities in prepared and sustainable energy action plan. It's very important because the priorities and energy efficiency and renewable energy, especially in the municipal building, in the public building, in the households and all. It's a very important part for us. And the second project already finished. It was in low emission development strategy. This project and funding by USAID. Also in here was very important part, and energy efficiency for the 10 municipalities. I mean, for example, energy efficiency measures in the public building, because our priority is public building. As second will be some like in Justice House, and third will be for example, in households and others and industries and all. I will introduce more information about an energy efficiency activity in the public building, in industry and in others. And also it's this new project. It is a Danish and Georgian government project. It is a support program in the field of energy efficiency and sustainable energy. This project will continue during the 4 years. It's very important also. And first part is that energy efficiency in building, I mean, and historical building and public building and all. And also it's very important, and integration and renewable energy. It's its second part, and our stakeholder is the Ministry of Economy and the Ministry of Environmental and Ministry of Finance, and also in NGOs and NGOs and local and experts. Also, it's very important that First National Energy Efficiency Action Plan already prepared, and we have a draft, final draft of this project. In the near future, we go to the government for the approval. And our first National Energy Efficiency Action Plan to calculate it for these 3 years, in 2017 and 2020. Here are a lot of energy efficiency and measures. It is approximately 42, but in the first National Energy Efficiency Action Plan will cover the 4 main directions: energy efficiency in industry, energy efficiency in transport, energy efficiency in building, and energy efficiency in energy sector. It's very, very useful document, but I think our first MIAF will be very successful. Here is some obligations, but I think, and in the near future, we have some law about energy efficiency and renewable energy. It will be more simple for us. And as regards, and I'm sorry, and I would like to introduce also 2 new projects. It is first energy efficiency law and first renewable energy law. It was an obligation from EU and directives, and our law will be a final version will be at the end of this year, but I think, and all instruments, it's very, very useful for the projects which introduce in the near future. And today, and my colleagues, and Natalia Shanatiri, also, and my colleagues in Jaroslav, introduce and detailed information how to developing, for example, the energy efficiency program, also in the renewable energy program in industry, in all energy sectors. But now I will introduce only spare 3 calls. First is the processing of material and feedstock using non-conventional energy sources. And as regards our scope is to develop technologies and applying non-condensation energy sources to process of the high industrial interest. And it is very important to show a potential for the integration in renewable electricity grid and consider relevant and limitations. Also, it's very important to consider life cycle assessment, providing and reduce environmental impact. As you know, and Georgians also signed of the Paris Agreement. It is in the first year having some obligation from the Paris Agreement. It is obligation first is energy efficiency for 2025. The energy efficiency share will be in 15%. As regards and second obligation, it's for 2030. It is in approximately 25% energy efficiency measures by the Paris Agreement. As regards the second call is and also an energy efficiency opportunity in the industry, and it is energy and the resources and flexibility in high energy and intensive in industries. And the scope is and the solutions are needed for the value and chain optimization through energy efficiency consideration in the design slash of the manufacturing and equipment and processing. Innovation, production technologies, and flexibility in terms of the raw material, including a new model on the secondary raw materials, for example, and also in final production actually expected to be developed. And it's very important part because our priority is also with the energy efficiency technology, and we know and the big challenge is its price, but I think in the near future will develop and successful in this measure. Also in the scope of these projects, and here is in greenhouse gas emissions, because maybe you know already, and Georgian government has some obligation about and for CO2 emissions reduction at 50% and for 2020, also in the 20% 2025. It's also a big challenge and for us. And here is in the number of these projects. You can to try and to see and more detailed information about and on Horizon 2020 and website. Here is in the point and the SPR 2030. Here is in more detailed information about this. Here is in the budgets and, for example, period of the project and the others. And third is in very complex and proposals and calls. It's projects and efficient recycling and the processing for plastics containing and materials. Here is in the water, here is in energy, here is in some environmental issues. It is very complex and projects. And the impact of this project, it's a technology proposed should provide a decrease in utilization of primary and fossil and resources in the processes industry of at least 30%. Also, in concepts proposed should provide a decrease in CO2 emissions of at least 20%. Also, in here is information about the number of this project, and as you know, and from my colleagues, and total budgets and SPR and 2018 and will be and approximately 97 million euro. And I am in focal point of the SPR in Georgia, and if you have any question anytime, here is in my contact details, and inform me and what you need, because it is not a research project, so it is some practical projects in energy in industry, and maximum utilization local resources and an energy saving, and totally it's our security, our energy security. Thank you very much. If you have any question, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Marita. There are two small announcements I would like to make. First, there are some feedback forms for the session, which Mariam already said, with the agenda that you have received. So please be kind and send it to us, because it's very important that we know, and the project of EAP Plus knows that what we can do better. So that's one announcement I would like to make. And the second one, we have found the credit card of Ina Charkoviani. Is she here? Ina Charkoviani. And please, if she's here, could you approach us so we can give it to you? And with this, I would like to introduce...
No. We had a request for a question, right?
Oh, okay. Then we go with question first.
And also, before I give you for another meeting, and she said if you have any questions, I can collect your questions, or I can collect your information, your contact information, and I can deliver it to Ms. Natalia Shatirishvili. So she just wanted to apologize. She didn't want to break in, so please be informed about that. And if you have a brief question, go ahead.
Brief question. Thank you very much. See, in your big, very rich listing of energy sources, I couldn't see the information as a resource, information resource. According to the doctrine of information development of United Nations, from the very beginning of the 21st century, the banking begins to work on the information sources. I mean information engineering, information industry, and so on. Have you any information?
Sources, but you mean in the information sources, for example, renewable energy sources or all energy sources?
Of course.
Okay. Yeah. And thank you very much. Very good question. And as you know already, we have in the final draft of the First National Energy Efficiency Action Plan. Here are a lot of information about the sources, including industry and energy, also in the building, also in the fossil fuel and oils.
Information industry, for instance, Germany.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have any specific questions regarding this?
So, ladies and gentlemen, as I am the only barrier between you and the lunch, I'll be really quick, so that you can make a really nice feeding of your stomach and making new connections, new networking. So, but before I do that, before I leave the floor to you, let me just quickly introduce the grants for networking. in our project, in the EAP Plus project. Natalia has already summarized briefly the role of brokerage events and how it works, so I won't talk about this. But I have good news. She mentioned that it's not funded, the travel costs, but within the framework of the EAP Plus project, we have the possibility to fund some of eligible researchers, and they can apply for a grant for networking. So our aim is to support the stronger interaction of EAP researchers with counterpart from the EU and their participation in Horizon 2020. Grants for networking is one of the tasks of our project, is supporting financially the participation of local researchers from EAP countries in brokerage events and also in preparatory meetings for the development of concrete project proposals. Okay, how it works. So the aim is, again, the development of concrete project proposals, and it is required that we have at least one EAP researcher and one researcher from the European Union member state or from a non-EAP associated country. And they can develop jointly an application. It gives a special priority to applications concerning SPIRE calls, what we could hear a lot about, which are explicitly encouraging participation from your region, from EAP countries. The aim of the task is to extend scientific networks between EU and non-EAP AC and EAP countries, and to increase the number of EAP researchers in submitted H2020 projects. Okay, the question is, who can apply? The countries listed here, so Armenia, Azerbaijan, Belarus, Georgia, Moldova, and Ukraine. And institutions like research entities, industry, municipalities, and SMEs. The guidelines are the following. You have to fulfill formality and eligibility criteria. Applications have to comply with the formality and eligibility criteria in order to be considered within the process. And it has a matrix. Let me quickly just go through it. So these criteria have to be met. Be a member or an employee of a research institution, a network organization, higher education institution, or an SME enterprise, municipality, or industry involved in research. Secondly, you should conduct research in one of the EAP countries. Thirdly, you should submit a completely filled application form along with all the required documentation, of course. Fourthly, you should have a PhD degree on, or at least have 3 years full-time experience in research. And of course, you have to speak English fluently. It's really important. You have to prove it with a language exam. And more information you can find about the calls here. The guidelines for the applications are the following. The funding requirements are will be paid by the local partner, travel, accommodation, and so on. And the important dates, well, the first call is already closed, but the second call will be closed at the end of May next year. So you have still time, and these possibilities, these events will take place between November this year and the end of August next year. I just searched for you some highlighted brokerage events, what we highly recommend you to take part in, such the Info Day, Horizon 2020 Health, Demographic Change and Wellbeing this year in 8th of December, or the Translational Medicine in Zurich next year in January. Another event will be the Energy Match at Vaasa Energy Week in March 2018. The MacTech and InnoTech in March also on the Inter Expo Center. What I also highly recommend to take a closer look at EEM brokerage event during the Hannover Messe in April next year, or at the Genera 2018 about energy and environment. You know, this is an international trade fair which takes place in June next year.
Which city?
No, it's just the acronym. Let me check.
It's in Spain, I think.
I think so. Yeah. It will be in Spain, but you can check all the details. And of course, this was just a quick selection. For further events, please take a closer look at the complete list of events at this link. Okay, and for Spire calls, you should take a look at page 22 of this document, and you can find a detailed description. Okay, and last but not least, about the second option. So, not only brokerage events can be funded, but also participation in a preparatory meeting. In this case, partners from at least 2 organizations are needed, with one partner from an EU member state and one from an EAP country. They have to formally invite each other, vice versa. One person from the partnership must be designated as a coordinator of the project, and EAP Plus supports only applications that include 1-2 preparatory meetings among representatives of the partner organizations. And it is also possible for the organizations to participate in preparatory meetings of already existent EU consortia. This is also a really nice opportunity. And just quickly let's take a look at the application criteria here. So information on the preparatory meeting activities is needed, the place, time, number of participants, etc. The description of the member organizations, names, contact details have to be given also, and the name of the coordinator. The information on the selected call within Horizon 2020, the brief information on the scientific basis of the proposal, and of experience in previous projects, a list of up to 5 publications, and a time schedule, and of course a signed letter of intent between EU and EAP researchers. For more information, please contact our partners, our local partners, or my colleague or me, and we are really happy to help you out. And yeah, actually that was my brief presentation before the lunch, and now let's network and let's have a nice meal. Thank you very much.
Can I make a brief announcement? The application guideline for the grants for networking is available in the packages that you had on the chair. So if you
we have approached the we have closed the second section, and right now it is time for some questions. If you have for the grants for networking, that you can ask. If there is none, then we can go to the lunch. So we can accept a couple of questions if you have any of them. Yes.
I have a question because some scientists know language well, but they have no certificate available to present. So it is essential document to get the grant for the travel grant on brokerage event.
I can answer that. I can answer that.
I think some people, especially younger people, who don't have a job where they get some additional remuneration. If you have such sheet of paper, they don't care about language exams. I think it's important that you prove that you can speak English. If you have publications in English, if you have a cooperation where we can expect that you can speak English, then you can substitute this. And I think the recommendation of the local partner is very important.
Thank you very much.
In your case, the Georgian counterpart who will pay out the fund.
Just to add one more thing, it's that in the first call of the EAP Plus Principal Networking, we accepted your publications that were in English also as one of the measures for but you have to be an author or a co-author, or you have to be involved in this, and that's how you could also certify that you know the language. Okay, one more? Yeah. Yes.
So my question goes to the call for proposal. For example, regarding the energy, I understand that there is the all goals in accordance with the EU energy strategy, but there are other scopes as well. So for the country as it is Georgia, for the quite new member of the and beneficiary of this program, if there is any new direction or project that is not covered by this Horizon to 2020, and there is no any call for proposal, how can country apply with the new call for proposal, and if it's possible in case of Georgia? Thank you. I mean, technically how it's to get some initiative to the new one. So my question mainly goes to Mr. Cardon. Thank you.
As I mentioned previously, 2,000 calls altogether. I'm not aware of all of the calls, but one thing is very important. The evaluator, the first thing the evaluator will look on it, if there's a proposal, if it's answering the requirements of the call text. So you nominated very late the program committee members, if you have nominated them till now. And Georgia and Ukraine were the last one, the EAP countries. The program committees are the committees where the call topics can be influenced. So of course you can apply only where there's a call for. If there is no call, then of course there's no possibility. Maybe in some coordinating and support actions you can find additional possibilities, but in research and innovation actions or innovation actions you have to work with that what is available in the call texts in the working program.
I hope the same question.
Yeah. You can apply only for all open calls. If there is no open call, there's nowhere to apply.
Widening horizon. Horizon widening.
I hope that answers your question, and now we move to the lunch, which is the lunch.
Wait for the remaining. And as the switch, we're waiting for the switch. Time. There is it. Okay. In the meantime, it's not easy. Having the first presentation after the lunch. I remember when I was a young scientist, just preparing for my master's thesis. At that time, we had these overhead projectors, and everything was dark. And we had these nice seminars about theoretical physics, and everybody was sleeping. So I have to give you a stand-up. Just at the very beginning, some remarks. You asked, a question was raised about the ability of the Georgian Institute to participate or even to coordinate the project. I would say we can here give you presentation after presentation. You can participate in the training after training. You can have advice after advice from the ministry and companies. But the best is learning by doing. Once you are, so don't be afraid being a member of a consortium. Once you are there, you will be able to learn it, how to do it. I will never forget, I have some 23 years experience in European research and innovation cooperation. I will never forget when I first time received the call text from my boss in 1994. I could understand the words, but if there were more than 5 words after each other, not the sense. We had to learn this language, this special dialect we call Brussels English. Just to say, don't be afraid, just do it. Second, the question was raised about the list of European coordinators, European projects, members of consortia. I never heard about such a list, but you can find all coordinators and all projects in the participant portal. At first, you look for the call text, then you go to the participant portal and you write in which kind of call you are searching for. All the winners will come out, and if you click on the winners, then all the consortia will come out. with the leader of the consortia, with the member of the consortium, and even with the budget. Even you can, through the participant portal, you can send an email, but I hope if you know who the coordinator is, you are able to Google it and to find the person, and you can contact him or her. So coming back to legal and financial issues, as I mentioned previously, I'm a trained physicist, but I'm the founder, one of the founders of the Regional Center for Information Scientific Development, and I'm the one who's responsible for all the framework program activities. And maybe somewhere very deep in my soul, the bookkeeper is living. So if I see a nice Excel sheet, I had a nice day. So, what about legal issues? The three pillars of the legal issues are the requirements for participation. I will speak about this part very, very shortly because you had some presentation about this by my colleague Adam. Then the consortium agreement, and then the intellectual property rights. The consortium agreement is mandatory. It's a private agreement between the members of the consortium, and it deals with the rights and obligations between the partners about budget, funding, additional rules, IPR, etc. IPR. The question of IPR was raised. It is very important that even you have to write into the proposal how you will deal with the IPR. If it's a coordinating and support action, you have European money to study how countries of the Caucasus region can cooperate with, let's say, Central Europe, and you have some publications, they have to be open. They have to, you need open access, they have to publish it because you receive European funding. If it's an innovation project or research and innovation project, then you have to take care on that, who generated the result and who will own the result. Generally, joint ownership that everybody is owning everything does not work. Only in very special cases. So you have to write at first, at the very beginning, into the proposal. The evaluator will look on it. The evaluator will read it and ask in the evaluator report how, or reflect on it, how you handled the IPR. So you have to take care of the intellectual property rights, and you have to demonstrate, even in the proposal, that those will own the intellectual property who generated it. So need, of course, protection if appropriate. In any other cases, dissemination and exploitation is an obligation. You have to disseminate the project results. But there are always project results which are, on the one hand, an intellectual property, what you have to protect, but on the other hand, you can disseminate it that exists. The other thing is open access and visibility. So all the publications, scientific publications, have to be open access, and the EU funding has to be visible. Just for a very short minute, coming back to intellectual property, to give some advice, because sometimes if you want to protect your intellectual property really internationally, it's not an easy path. It's a long way, and it can be very expensive. The question is, if an enterprise in Georgia can pay this, or if a private person in Georgia can pay this, if there are additional measures in the country to help the persons and the enterprises, and even if there are additional measures to help the persons, it can happen that you are not able to protect in the right way your international property. So you have to be very careful. It's very interesting. Last time I consulted with some Hungarian researchers who are really experienced in laser research, have a lot of products, and they are very really at the top on scientific level. And there was a decision was made that if they make a patent of the next product, if it's stolen, you have to try to get back your money, and you have to engage a lawyer, etc., etc. It's not an easy thing. So they decided to publish it. Because if you publish it, then a similar patent cannot be made. But you are the one who knows the technology, how to make it. So they cannot, so it cannot happen that something what is quite close to your intellectual property is patented, and you have to engage a lawyer. It's a patent. If it's a publication, then it's not possible anymore to make a patent from it. But the other ones are not aware of all the details how this technology was developed. So you are the only one who can be really good on the market. This is one thing. The other thing is, I will never forget, I mentioned this about South Korea. This was many, many years ago. And the Koreans, at that time, the digital photo making was really on the top. And the question was raised, what about intellectual property? And of course, a company like Samsung, they can do everything for intellectual property. But anyhow, anything they do, they knew it was 2004, it will be copied in China. With or without protected intellectual property. They said the only thing what we can do, that we are faster. Those who are copying our technology, they need at least 9 months. If not more than in a year, we are on a new product on the market. So the copied product will be old. This is a special field, but sometimes it's very good if you are really fast. About the general rules of participation, there are these nice tables and a lot of blah blah. Basically, you need 3 partners from different member states of EU states. Here you can see the member states and the countries associated to the framework program. But this is the general rule. The 3 partners from 3 countries, member state or associated country. I've never seen a project, nor a proposal as an evaluator, with less than 6 participants. I would say rather typically 8 participants from 6 countries, but I've seen even projects with consortia, with participants, with members above 20. So I would see 3 participants are eligible, but usually not enough. I wouldn't see the more the better, but you have to balance, especially if you run for 3 million euros, you cannot give 1 million to each. Of course, there are exceptions. How can you involve other countries? What is if somebody asks you, for example, in your field, you say, okay, now we have here a German university, Georgian enterprise, through our company found a Hungarian partner, but you as Georgians have very good connections to someone from the former Soviet Union, let's say one from Belarus and another one from Kazakhstan. Can we involve them? The Hungarians can bring in someone from Chile. Can we involve them or not? In a lot of cases, they can be involved. So generally, the framework program is open to everybody. But financing cannot receive everybody. It is always in the context if international organizations and the other countries can be financed. And even if it is not in the context, the evaluator can say, okay, but the role of the Chilean partner and the Belarusian partner is so important that they should be financed. If the evaluator suggests to be financed, then they will be financed. Of course, there are exceptions again. In the most of cases, the so-called rich countries like United States, China, as China is taken out, the BRICS countries are taken out, Taiwan, Australia are not funded. But generally, if you have to involve, let's say, a country, a partner from a third country, I would engage in just doing it. It should not be a burdening factor. Financial issues. In Horizon 2020, I don't know how is it in the case of Georgian grants. In case of Hungary, the Horizon 2020 is much easier than our national funds, even easier than the funds we have from the structural funds, indirect from the European Union. You can get either 100% financing plus 25% overhead, or in the case of innovation projects, innovation actions, 70% plus 25% indirect cost. 25% indirect cost means if you can document 100,000 euro as a cost, personal costs, cost of equipment, cost of travels, etc., then the total cost of your project is 100,000 plus 25,000, 125,000. In the case of a research and innovation project, you get all the 125,000. In the case of an innovation project, you get 70% of this 125,000 project. 125,000 euros. in big institutes in Western Europe, they said these indirect costs are not enough. In Hungary, the 25% is enough. We can live from it. And I suppose it might be the same case in Georgia. I will speak about the financial planning. You have the personal costs, you have the subcontracting, you have the other direct costs, you have the the indirect cost. These are the pillars of your project support. In the case of the other direct costs, if it's above 15%, then 15% of the personal costs, we have to be able to demonstrate what you are spending this money on travel, equipment, other goods and services, and large research infrastructure. There are tables about it in the this is taken from a proposal sheet template. Yes, from a proposal template. This is about how to have this staff report. You have to write in the personal months you work, and you have to list all the other direct costs. My advice would be listing all the other direct costs, only even if it's below 15% of the personal costs. It shows the evaluator that you are taking really care on the costs of the project. It means maybe 2 or 3 more tables. Just do it by the coordinator. You know it. This is an example of a project. In yellow, you have here a consortium of 9 partners from 8 countries. We have here 3 countries associated to the framework program. In yellow, you can see who is participating in the task. In orange, you can see the task lead. In red, the work package lead. If you see some numbers, like here's 2 at the coordinator and 2 at the Finnish organization, it means that they are leading 2 tasks. And this is an example how a budget can look like, how personal costs, other direct costs, indirect costs. Some below you can. This is not these are only the sums of other direct costs and services, not the explanation, because it's not that interesting. Just how it can look like, how it is typically. What I wanted to underline is the interesting distribution of the personal costs. You cannot expect that the personal costs will be really in relation with the personal effort, because the amount you can spend on personal costs are different from country to country. If you look, the coordinator, it's coming from Poland, receives less than some of the organizations from Finland or Austria. Why? Because the average, the typical costs you can spend on personnel in Poland are lower than in Austria or in Finland. So the lowest we have here in personnel costs, if you divide it, is in Ukraine. It's only 1,200 euros per person month, and the highest is in Finland. It is 7,200 euros. It means that for example, in Finland, you get the amount for 1 person month what you get in Ukraine for 7 person months. It even differs more if you are participants from less developed countries, let's say from sub-Saharan Africa, then you can have amounts below 1,200, or if you have involved participants from Switzerland and Norway, I experienced personal costs for a person month above 10,000 euros. This is an example how it looks like on the participant portal. This is a budget of an existing proposal. What Adam mentioned, this is the researcher's night proposal. Just some very interesting thing. Here we had an industrial partner, Ericsson. They asked for nothing, and this was in a very early stage of Horizon 2020. It was not available to write in 0. So I could write in 0, but there was a warning coming from the ECA system that the amount cannot be 0. It was accepted, but it was recognized as a failure. I could have written it 1 cent.
Yes.
The problem is if I write it 1 cent, then Ericsson has to record the costs. So I as simple wrote an explanation that although there's a mistake recognized by the electronic submission system that Edison is receiving nothing but only the part of the support that it is accepted. It was a winning proposal. So even in such cases, you can succeed. So payment modalities, they are very good in Horizon 2020. You get very early 35%. Typically, a typical project has 2 reporting periods, 36 months is duration. You got in the project lifetime the first payment 35% in the first month. For us as a company, it helps our liquidity very much. Because I get 45% of all the money what will be spent in 3 years, the first month. And imagine if we start a project and in 6 months again, and in a year again, a new project, and in 1.5 years again, then I have these first payments on my account. And since there's a 15% retention, what I will get only after the end of the project, this quite generous first payment helps me over this period when they are waiting for the 15%. The second rule is that in Horizon 2020, if a financial report is accepted, they send it in 90 days after the acceptance of the financial report, the total financial report. You receive the money, not later than 90 years. In the case of Researchers' Night, we had the deadline 60 days for reporting. We reported in after 29 days, it was less than 30 days, we received the money before 60 days. So even the Commission is developing itself as an example for the appointment, for how you receive the money. The first payment at the very beginning of the project, the second payment after 18 months, it's the end of the project. You report at the end of month 20, and you receive somewhere between months 20 and months 23 the second payment, let's say month 22. The same when the project has ended, you end at month 36, you report after, not more than 2 months, and then not more than 3 months again, between months 39 and 41, let's say months 40, you will get the final installments. It's very important that on consortium level, you cannot exceed the EU funding. You cannot receive more than you asked for. On beneficiary level, you can exceed it. It can happen that some of the beneficiaries receive a bit more, some of the beneficiaries receive a bit less. For example, in our case, we don't have euro, neither have euro. This means that we cannot plan everything in advance, because I don't know what the exchange rate will be when we do the reporting. It can happen that we spend a bit more, it can be we spend a bit less, and the Georgian part of it, but usually this balances. Or sometimes the workload can change during the project. So that the sentence that the maximum easy calculation can be exceeded, it's on consortium level. On the level of the individual participants, it can exceed. If it's a big difference, you can always move resources between work packages and between partners. If it's a big change, you need an amendment. Amendment is a quite long procedure, but it can be done. We experienced this. And of course, only eligible costs can be reimbursed. You have generally direct costs and indirect costs. The indirect costs are the costs which are not identifiable directly attributed to the project. Typically, the rent of your offices, then all the overhead costs like water and electric current and internet, etc. Even there are exemptions. If you have a research project for let's say big accelerators in nuclear physics, then electric current is a kind of consumable, because this is not the electric current for lightning. It's the current for running your accelerator. If you have a project in fisheries, of course, then the technical water what you use in your lake, it's a consumable, but it's not the water what the researcher drank or used for coffee. So even such costs can be consumables, but generally, I think everybody understands what the typical overhead cost is, and you cannot claim these costs as other costs in the project. It's very important. Because the financial officer will always ask, what the hell is this? Why do you want to claim costs for, I don't know, 130 euros for office paper? Office paper is a part of the overhead cost. Financial reporting. All the costs have to be reported in euro. The documents have to be kept for 5 years. And if you exceed the amount of 325,000 euros, then you need an audit. Unfortunately, I never had a participation above 335,000 euros. I will be very happy. So to get the big money, and I will be very happy to make the audit, to pay for the audit. We have two different cases for euro conversion. Hungary is not a euro country, so we are using. But the Hungarian forint, you can see the daily rate on the, and of course we have to use the exchange rate of the European Central Bank, not the exchange rate of the Georgian National Bank or the Hungarian National Bank. In case of Hungarian forint, you can have, if we have the daily exchange rate and we are using the average of the period, we don't have to calculate the average. You can see the average on the web page of the European Central Bank. It's very easy. So I put in the first, the starting date and the ending date of the reporting period. I will get the average of the exchange rate. In your case, you have to look on another part of the European Central Bank. There's a monthly average exchange rate for Georgian lari. Yes, Georgian lari. Sorry, for Georgian lari and a lot other currencies too. But this is if an accountant has a question, there has to be somebody who can help in these questions. What are eligible costs? I think everybody understands what eligible cost is. What you can document what you have spent on the project. Sometimes, as an administrator, I would say it's more important that you can document it than that you are using it. So if you use it for the project that you cannot document it, then it is not eligible. If you buy a computer for your secretary, who just typing your letters, but you can document it that it is a research equipment, and then it is eligible. I say it very silently, but you understand what I mean. It had to be you have to use for the project. Usually, in case of equipment, you can there's a kind of how is it in English? You can write down in your account on the part of the equipment this amortization. You can charge only to the project. Personnel costs. This is a very, very important part. You can charge all the personnel costs. It means not only the salaries, all the taxes and all the costs of labor. So I don't know how the system is in Georgia, but in most of the countries, I have a salary, I have to pay some taxes and social security amounts, but my company is paying additional costs of labor. Even these costs you can charge. But you can charge only the typical costs, what you have in the company. So you have to take the average cost of the previous year. So I cannot say now my assistants who are working with the project have a salary of 1,000 euros, and I want when we win a European project, then I charge 4,000 euros. No. If previous year we received 1,000 euro a month, then next year I can pay them from the European project 1,000 euro too. There's an exemption. This was because the last one, say this 8,000 euros in the during the seventh framework program. A big problem was about the big salary differences. What I showed you in a budget example, and the driving force was Poland. That they wanted to reach the Commission that researchers can have an additional salary. So not they have their own salary, and if they are involved in the framework program project, they can have some additional salary. It is now restricted to 8,000 euro in a year. This is not bad money in Georgia if you get in addition to your salary, but it could be even more if the salaries are high in a company. As you can see in my budget example previously in Hungary, at our company, for example, our average person month rate is 4,300 euros. So, and of course, we are not a non-for-profit organization, so we cannot use this, but we are simply charging the salaries which we have at the company. You have 3 calculation methods. You can use this 1,720 fixed hours in a year, or you can use an individual annual productive hours. At our company, it's 1,680. Or you can use standard annual productive hours. I would recommend leave the third one, either the first or the second one. But very important, you can use, in your case, as I mentioned, you can use this 8,000 euro additional salary, so somebody can have, as a researcher at the university, his or her salary, and additionally, not more than 8,000 euro, all costs included. In Hungary, this would be a net salary of 4,000 euro. If you divide it by 12, you come to an amount of 330 euros net additionally monthly. It's not bad. Not comparable, of course, as the salaries in Western Europe. Subcontracting. In Horizon 2020, there's a big change in comparison to the 7th framework program. In the 7th framework program, everything was subcontracting. What was the kind of service? For example, if you ordered food, including services, then it was subcontracting. Now, only action tasks are subcontracting. So if I order food from a Horizon 2020 project, it's not an action task because I'm not a food provider, or printing, etc. These are other direct costs. Subcontracting can be, as an example, if I have a consortium in food production, what was mentioned by your colleague previously, you have a German university, a Hungarian partner, and a Georgian SME, and you say, okay, I need some laboratory measures, and I will subcontract this amount to a special laboratory. And this is an action task, and then this might be 30,000 euros. This laboratory, and you are doing it in Georgia because in Georgia the cost quality ratio is much better than in Hungary or in Germany. That is an action task. This is real subcontracting. There's one exemption again. The so-called northern way of subcontracting. What is the northern way of subcontracting? If it is in the proposal, who will be subcontracted? And if it's a non-for-profit organization, if you write in, we will need 30,000 euros subcontracting for decent laboratory work at the Georgian Technical University, Tbilisi. We don't think I spelled it the right way. Then it is a non-for-profit organization. So from the amount what they receive, they cannot generate profit, and it was written in the proposal text. And the evaluator said, okay, right, this is a nice laboratory. I believe that they will be able to do this work. And it is a kind of northern way of subcontracting. You neither need a public procurement, nor you don't have to handle it as subcontracting. You can handle it as a direct cost. Costs of other goods and services, these are the usual costs what appear during project for traveling, equipment, events, etc. As I mentioned, when other costs exceed 15%, you have to write it in the proposal and you have to report it in the reporting. You have to explain it. VAT, in general, VAT is not eligible in the framework program, but there are exemptions again. It's much better than in the 7th framework program because that VAT, what is not deductible, you can charge. For example, in the 7th framework program, when I visited Georgia and paid for my hotel, and there was a VAT on the invoice, then this VAT occurred in Georgia was the loss of my company. It was the same with Austria, although I can get theoretical VAT from Austria, and on the one hand, we never reached the amount what can be deducted from another EU countries. On the other hand, if it's not deductible in Austria, I can neither deduct it in Hungary. So the VAT was always a loss. Because in Hungary, as a company, when I buy a computer, I can deduct VAT. This is I cannot charge. If I come now to Georgia and pay for the hotel and there's VAT on the invoice, I can charge this VAT. This makes our life as a company much easier. Ineligible costs. Usually, what is either a part of the overhead or not in connection with the project, or deductible VAT. Very important for you, currency exchange losses. During the previous regular programs, especially FP4, FP3, we had great losses in Hungary because when there's inflation and the national currency is evolving, then of course at the reporting the exchange rate was very, very much different from that what was when the money received, arrived and we changed it. We cannot charge these exchange losses. Now the situation is a bit better. On the one hand, I don't know how is it in Georgian lari, to be honest. I know how is it in Hungarian forint. The exchange rate changes. Sometimes it's better, sometimes it's worse. So it's not like it was 20 years ago that it's continuously going down. On the other hand, we have to, as I mentioned before, we have to work with the average of the period, and the average is much better than let's say only one day after the reporting period. And of course, at the company, we are taking care when we change the euro to the national currency. We are changing when the exchange rate is good for us. So these are some useful links about financial and legal issues. And this was my presentation, and now the panel can come. Thank you very much for your attention.